Welcome back to Beyond Mobility, where we talk with the people behind transportation safety and the systems that keep the passengers moving along safely. Today, I'm joined by my coworker, Jeff, who brings years of experience in the school bus industry along with a strong engineering background. Jeff has spent much of his career focusing on safety, design, and problem solving within pupil transportation, and we're excited to hear his perspective on wheelchair securements and what really matters when it comes to keeping students safe. First of all, Jeff, thank you so much for joining me today. And I was just hoping you could share a little bit about what brought you to the AMF team.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. I had decided after just over 30 years being in the school bus industry, 22 of it with Thomas Built Buses, that maybe I was ready for retirement. So in 2024, I did that. Well, 6 weeks later, the most humbling experience happened to me. I had multiple job offers, and one of those was AMF. And that started out as an inquiry. And actually, a longtime friend of mine, Maritza, who also works for our company, had asked me about it a long time ago at NAPT. If I was ever ready to switch, what would I do? And so I asked about that and got put in contact with my now boss, Mike. And one thing led to another. I got offered the job, and it's still in the school bus world. And that's part of the reason I said yes. So still have more to learn on the special needs side, which you've been a big help in learning as well.
Hey, we've been learning together, it's been a fun journey. So what was it about wheelchair securements that wanted you to expand on that a little bit more?
I'm always looking at, from a safety standpoint, transporting our kids. We've always said in the school bus world, that's the most precious cargo you can move back and forth, right? So how we do it was always very important to me over the years. The special needs side of it, I've got friends who are wheelchair bound. I have been around since I lived in the Carolinas. I was around a NASCAR driver who was injured and then wheelchair bound. So you start seeing a little bit of a different perspective. And the only way, obviously, you learn is start asking questions. So I was interested in being a part of helping those needs to be met.
I love it. And then based on your experience with the school bus industry and your time here with AMF, what do you think that training and education does in terms of making a difference for the day-to-day safety of those students that are using wheelchairs?
Well, I go back to my own experience as a carpenter. Once you do things for a living for quite a while, you just automatically assume you know everything, or some of it by osmosis, right?
Mhm.
But we're all, especially men, are not humble enough sometimes to say, you know what, a refresher would be good. So the training aspect and how you approach that, in other words, don't belittle people, but helping them get that fresh perspective as often as you possibly can, uh, really puts people in, not only in tune with what they're doing, but on task like they're supposed to be. They're doing it right. They've forgotten something. They just casually missed over one item or another, right? So it all helps with that.
I agree. I agree. And then lastly, from your engineering perspective, what are some details or designs with the wheelchair securements that often go unnoticed but are still really important for safety?
Well, a couple of things that I picked up on right away was too many times I've been on a bus where people forget that you've actually got to secure the passenger to the chair, whether it has a seatbelt equipped on it or not. They already jump right into securing the wheelchair and don't always do that correctly. But I can't tell you how many times in the short amount of time I've been with AMF, I've seen them not use the shoulder belt. So it's reiterating to them that the anchorage is on the floor, you're securing the wheelchair. So now that's secure. But the shoulder and lap belt is securing the passenger to the chair. Now everybody is happy. So that's one big thing I've noticed.
And it's an important thing because honestly, before I became involved with the AMF team as well, I didn't know the importance of the safety belt either. I
Yeah.
always just assumed that the belt on my wheelchair was good enough. But after doing some educational stuff with AMF, I learned that it's not crash tested in the same way that the actual mounted seatbelt is. So
Yeah.
there's little tiny differences that do make such an impact for safety. So
Yeah, and then that aspect of where those points need to be touching off on the passenger. Lap belt on the hip, that's your big bone. The shoulder belt adder just above your shoulder, and how I keep tension on there, especially when you get into a little child. I can move it back, but I can't move it forward. There's no tension. So there's a lot of clarification needs to happen in training.
I agree. I agree. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for sharing your experiences and insight with us today. I think that your background as an engineer and the years that you've spent in the school bus industry really highlight how thoughtful design, proper training, and attention to those small details really come together to protect students every day. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to AMF-Bruns Insight. If you found this conversation helpful, we encourage you to share it with your team and continue the conversation around safety, training, and accessible transportation. Until next time, stay safe and keep moving forward.